Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up from August 9th to 15th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 5 shows, and I listened to 1 book. This is obviously not my usual setup because I'm not in the usual place where I film because I'm actually visiting my parents for the first time since last year. So if you've been on this channel for a while, you've seen this room around, say, Christmas time and that type of thing when I'm visiting and have to make my video. And before I go on, my mom painted that. It's pretty. They also, for some reason, have a mug from my high school. I didn't know that I owned this. Why do they have this? I don't know, but I'm gonna use it every time I'm here. First this week I did a reread of the absolute fantastic Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I love this book. I read it back in March. It was a 5-star book then, it's a 5-star book now, but obviously it's coming out on September 1st. If you haven't already pre-ordered it, do that, because if you haven't read this book, if you're not one of the few people that received an ARC, you're going to want to read this book. It is so good. If you've somehow escaped myself and Audrey and Dee and many other people screaming about how good this book is about Yadriel, who has gone through his rites to become a Brujo behind his family's back because they won't let him do it because he's trans and they don't know how that's going to work. To prove to his family and himself that he is in fact a Brujo, he summons a spirit that he's supposed to allow to go on to the next world, and he tries to do that and the spirit doesn't want to go. The spirit has some things he needs to do before he moves on. Fun fact, this is the first book I ever tabbed up. I don't have it with me because it's back in Victoria, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that, a lot of fun to just giggle over these silly boys, and Maritza, who I love, who's his cousin, such a great character. I am going to be speaking more about this book in a future video because the reason I did a reread is because I need to make a video about it, so you'll see that in the future. The other book I read with my eyeballs this week was meant to be a buddy read with Jean, but she noped out of it pretty quickly, and that's Harvest of Sighs, which is the 3rd in the Thornchapel series. When I finished the 2nd book in this series, I was really mad at it, as you should be, because reasons that I obviously can't tell you because spoilers, although if you really want to know about them, DM me and I'll tell you about them. And part of me was like, I'm not going to read the rest of the series, but most of me was actually like, I want to see how this plays out. I want to see if this person gets the comeuppance that they deserve, and not really. So this series starts out with A Lesson in Thorns, and it's all about this girl named Poe who is moving from the States to the UK to basically be a personal librarian at a very rich person's house. And it's all about her reconnecting with childhood friends and all 6 of them basically being one big polyamorous blob. We'll go with blob, why not? And the thing is, these are great characters. I really enjoy these characters, especially getting to know their backgrounds and that type of thing. There's a lot of kink in the series, and also everyone seems to be bi, which is a good time. But with the first book, obviously there's a lot of build up to when they eventually have group sex at the end. And then in the 2nd book, there's a few scenes here and there, but in the 3rd book, in the first day of reading we did, which was the first 20% of the book, I think there was more sex in that section than the rest of the series combined to that point, and it's a lot. I think I used to get away with being able to put this in my spreadsheet as romance or maybe mystery thriller because there's kind of a mystery thing in the background, but no, I had to add plain old smut as a category on my spreadsheet because there's no way around it. That's exactly what this is. For those that know how the 2nd book ended, this one addressed that. It wasn't a fake out, or at least at this point it isn't a fake out, and also like only the person that it directly affects seems to be super upset about it. Like none of the other friends were like, you shouldn't have done that and you're terrible. So that bothered me, but the end of this book also came with its own little cliffhangers. I've already pre-ordered the last one because I just need to know how it's going to end. On to the shows I watched this week. Of course, we watched more Jeopardy. We watched so much Jeopardy that there's no more Jeopardy on Netflix for us to watch. Hopefully they update that every once in a while. They've updated that once since we've been watching Jeopardy, but I don't know how often they put new episodes on there, so we're waiting. Chad and I also started the show Ozark, which stars Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, and they wash money for a cartel, and some bad things go down and they end up having to move to the Ozarks, and it's dark, it's gritty, people are not very nice to each other, there's lots of different things going on. It's pretty fun so far. We're about 7 or 8 episodes in. I also watched this week's episode of Canada's Drag Race, and obviously there are many people on the internet that are very, vocal about the fact that the person that was called not glamorous in fact looked great. I love seeing that type of stuff on the internet. It is so much fun. There's so much fan art for this show as well, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, it's getting down to the wire here, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm still obviously voting for the people that I liked from the very beginning. Megan and I also got in a couple of episodes of Scandal way back at the beginning of the week, but because it was a week ago, I literally can't remember what was happening, besides we're into the very beginning of the 6th season, and it's going to be really interesting once we get around to Eli's storyline, because I remember that being quite a doozy. Also, usually when I go to my parents' house, I end up watching the Food Network. I didn't watch any Food Network while I was here. My mom and I did, however, watch every single episode of Virgin River. There's only one season right now. There's only 10 episodes. It's really good. It's a little bit soap opera-y and a little bit cheesy at times, and I was able to pick up on things ahead of time, which I think I put down mostly to the acting of some of the characters. This show is about this woman who is a nurse practitioner and midwife in Los Angeles and decides she needs a life change, and so she moves to this very small town called Virgin River, which is in Northern California, but really it's filmed here in BC, you can tell just by looking at it. And there's a lot of drama to this one. There's a lot of fun little situations with characters. You get to know why she's there over the course of time, which I called most of those things. Also, Annette O'Toole is in this, and I had to look it up, and I had to be like, oh, of course I know who Annette O'Toole is. She played Bev in my favorite movie when I was a child, the 1990 version of It. So, you know, that made me really happy. But now I have no idea when we're going to get another season, because obviously things aren't exactly filming these days. Finally, the book I listened to this week is Washington Black. I picked this up for the Read-Eh-Thon and just didn't get through it last week, and I almost didn't get through it this week just because I didn't have the time to be listening. Again, I used to do most of my listening while I was in transit, and because I don't go anywhere these days, yeah. This is historical fiction about an enslaved boy in Barbados named George Washington Black. He grows up on a plantation, and when that plantation is taken over by a different family, he ends up becoming a direct servant to this one man who's a naturalist and kind of a weird guy. And there's an adventure element to it from there. I don't want to give away too much of the plot. This is one of those things where a lot of things happen, but that's because it takes place over, I want to say, about 10 years. And although I did really enjoy seeing his journey and all the different places he ended up going to because of reasons, I don't think there's really too much about the characters in this that are really going to stick with me, besides a reveal that we got near the end as to who a certain character in his past was. That was an interesting reveal. I did, however, really enjoy the writing in this, and I'm going to try to pick up more by this author in the future. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down with the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some of you have asked if there's a way to financially support me and this channel during these interesting times, so I recently set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. It's like buying me a cup of coffee. That's linked down below, as well as the link to my PayPal and to my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to send me a book. You can like and share this video as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!